YouTubers, it's REDLIPBLONDE, and I'm doing video 8, I believe, or video 9, for the spirit of Marilyn Monroe, seeking the truth. And basically, I went into the spirit, I said a prayer and asked the Lord to know the truth. I'm not a psychic, I'm not a historian, I'm not putting in my own personal information, although I will throughout the videos, my own personal opinion, take it or leave it, but I basically went into the spirit and asked questions, and whatever would pop into my head, those words, numbers, phrases, whatever would come through, I'd write them down. I did not know any of the meaning of them, and then later, after I got all the information, researched them online to do a comparison connected to Marilyn's name, and 100% has been connected to her name. Every word she's given me has been taking me down this path of trying to find the truth from her own words. So if you follow my videos, it should be 1 through 10, although it might exceed that because there's a lot of information here. I'm going to piece it all together and we can find out the truth. And not just about her murder, which I do believe it's a murder, not a suicide. There's a lot of different players in this, in the words that she's given me. So piece by piece, I'll be giving you names and the information that I found connected to her. And it's taken me to the Secretary of Defense, which was my last video. I just finished. I was connected to a gentleman's name, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, Farristel, F-A-R-R-E-S-T-A-L. These are all the names, by the way. I'll even show you. There's like 2 sides. You probably can't see it. Boop. See, I just scribbled these names down. I don't know anything of them. And check them off. We have quite a bit. Eris, FBI, Hoffa. Well, Forrestal will come in later because it's known when she got killed, she was going to mention from her diary when she was still in an affair with J.F. Kennedy, and then his brother later had information, and according to her, she knew this gentleman Farristel, or heard of him, which was the first Secretary of Defense for the United States military. I didn't know this gentleman's name. This is what Marilyn gave me. And then there has been rumor going around that Marilyn basically was killed because she knew that there were real-life alien UFO crashes. And that was the information that Kennedy had given her while sleeping with her. And Kennedy obviously was connected to knowing some secret information inside the military, and being the president, of course, you're aware of a lot of different secret things going on that you're not allowed to tell. And this came up, so I'm going to read just the word that she gave me was on the last video, which was base 502, or 501, which was where she performed for the military men over in Korea. But base 502, I found out, is a base which is connected to Farristel. So I'm going to go ahead and reread this form I found after the fact with a secret document that's questionable that was found online through our government. If you can look back here. This was the actual top secret document on the UFO crash. And this was something Marilyn obviously knew about through the men she slept with, because she gave me this information, and without her telling me this, I would have never found this, or any of the documents, or the court papers, or the people she knew and were connected with without her telling me this. I am not a historian, like I said. I just know the basics, that she was a big celebrity, movie star, came from no family, her mother was mentally ill, and basically just the short film clips that you may see online, but I've never done any research. I wouldn't have known what connections she had as far as her friends, who she didn't trust. So this all came through the spirit after I researched it, after I talked with Marilyn. So, I'm going to go piece by piece, and then if there's anything that you may find through the words that I find, and add them to the notes that I found, great. Then we can really piece the truth together and find out what really happened. And there's a lot to cover, so we're going to start off with, again, we'll go back to base 502, which I have a video out on this. It'll be videos 1 through 10. It'll probably exceed that because there's a lot of information here. And it goes over the words, and right now I'll review the base 502 on this video so you can kind of move along here. Okay, so base 502 is what I found. I found it on December 6, 2013, an article online. Sorry, my glasses are broken. Nicholas Redfern began building a respectable reputation as a documentary historian on UFOs. With his first effort, A Covert Agenda, the British government's UFO top secrets exposed, struggling with the UK's 30-year rule and wrenching many important documents from the British Ministry of Defense. So this man obviously is from not of the U.S., but writes books on information about the UFO agenda, and he has 2 books out, the FBI Files and the Covert Agenda book. Okay, and it's just saying that he, we'll continue on here. He expanded his role as a document liberator to the U.S. with his second book, the FBI Files, the FBI's UFO Top Secrets Exposed. He also had made important contributions to the work to another great UK ufologist, Timothy Good, Above Top Secret. Redfern's new book, Cosmic Crashes, the incredible story of the UFO that fell to Earth. It's not yet published through any of the bookstores yet, it says here, but this is an older document, so it probably is now. He continues in the vein, with up-close examination of previously classified documentation concerning crash retrieval incidences. The RAF station at Cosford in December of 1963, at Pentagridge, Staffordshire the following year, in the Broome Mountains, North Wales, and many others. Almost as remarkable as the UFO events, however, at Redfern's adventures into the Pacific Record Office with Freedom of Information Act recovery, the among witnesses to establish what is actually documented about these incidents. Redfern focuses on the documents, most of them firmly official. When he speculates, the speculation grows logically from the documentation. Cosmic Crashes is quite miraculous in this regard. Now, I had to mention this again because, as I said, one of Marilyn's names that she gave me was James Forrestal, and like I said, he's a U.S. Secretary of Defense, one of the first who was a witness to that crash, and he didn't write about this till later. And we'll be doing a whole report on Forrestal and who he is, and how he knew the Kennedys, and how the Kennedys knew about this crash, who was supposedly, that information was given to Marilyn, and that was, through gossip, one of the reasons why Marilyn was murdered, because she wanted to blow the top off this information, not just having affairs, but what she knew through her secret diary, which supposedly came up missing upon her death. I don't believe, like I said in my earlier videos, it came out to be the Mafia, as well as Giancana and Hoover, and who would have the inside, who would have the status to have secret police and agents go to her home, who would have access to phone records, who would have access to these things that the mob certainly can't get. Would have to be a higher official that worked in the government, and we are all aware that Hoffa and the Kennedys did not get along, and I believe that Marilyn was spied on, and when Kennedy was visiting her that day and was seen by a police officer leaving her room that night, after visiting with her, trying to get this information from her, because she did tell them that if she didn't talk to the Kennedys, she was going to blow the lid off this case, and one of her ex-boyfriends, I can't think of his name right now, had been told this by Marilyn. I think his last name is Slater. A nice gentleman who wanted to tell the truth about this, and that she did have a diary. In any case, listed in the diary was something that Jack told her about these UFO crashes, which was top military secret information. And now, because she had given me this name of the Secretary of Defense, which linked me to the Kennedys, which linked me to Marilyn, these are Marilyn's words, I wouldn't have known these people, bases, or information without her knowledge. So it's taken me down this path, and this is something I wanted to share. So Phase 502 led me to this writer who is writing books about the Information Act in the U.S. And we'll skip the rest of his reading here, but it brings us to this official top secret document, and whether it's a genuine draft, as you can see, I'll do a small video so you can read it on the video, because it's really hard to read. But it's based on the crash that was given through 502 and the Secretary of Defense, which I just gave you his name, Mr. Barrows. He was a witness, and he was at the crash. So this was a crash, and it was a crash that Marilyn knew about. Now, I don't know if she just got murdered because she knew about the UFOs, as well as other information that JFK would secretly talk to her behind the scenes. How did they know that she knew this information? Her home was bugged. They were watching the Kennedy affair to see if there was anything they could pin the Kennedys on by losing their status in the White House. I mean, wouldn't it be great if Alpha could take not just president, but his brother down too? Because even if this had gone to court, with them both having an affair with Marilyn and having her know this information, and also being friends with Frank Sinatra, which she went to the Hotel Tahoe, or I have words that she's given me, which linked me to Frank Sinatra. I think he knew about her hit, and that happened a couple days before, as well as JFK's cousin there, Langford, or I don't have his name with me, Lawford. Pat Newcomb was there upon her death when there was never questioned, and once the police, they never did a thorough investigation. They immediately went to the pill jars. That was mentioned. She did give me information on who took the photos of the pills that were on her counter in her room. There's also notes that the maid had a lot to do with information and spying on Marilyn, who wasn't a maid that Marilyn chose herself. It was brought upon her by her, quote, agents, her spies. I've noticed when you are a celebrity, you don't have your own doctor and lawyers anymore. You're like a puppet. These officials take over your agent, and they make it seem like these are your friends, and they're there to protect you. They'll give you secretaries and lawyers, doctors, realtors to get you home. And it's often funny that after the celebrity's death, who makes out in the money? It's usually the person closest connected to you. The realtors, the lawyers, the doctors, the law officers, all the way to secret society. It's just like a revolving door. They've got this all figured out. So you're just a puppet being used for their gain of getting all the money they can and using you to the utmost. And if you live to good old age as a celebrity, it'll be miraculous. You're either in on it and making some kind of profit from it yourself, or they'll keep you alive until you live a full life of money and riches. And those that go against the grain or know too much get snuffed out. I mean, look at Hendrix, look at John Lennon, to Monroe, to JFK, to his brother, to, I mean, there's just so many, not just actors and actresses, but high officials that are aware of this corruption and suddenly gets snuffed out. And this is leading me down a trail of just the most interesting truth. And that's what we're after, is the truth. So, in this report, which is top secret, I'll try to make the words out the best I can. I will do a video and scan it so you can read it yourself. And along with some court papers that you will be astounded by who benefited from her death, I never knew about. Thank you, Marilyn, for giving me these words to follow up with the truth. So we'll continue on. The top secret form, subject Marilyn Monroe, Central Intelligence Agency, August 3rd, 1962. This is just before her death. Rothberg discussed the apparent blank subject with Killigan, whose name came up, by the way. I believe I discussed him on my last few videos, and if I hadn't, you will be hearing of him. This was also a name, a personal friend of Marilyn, who she had issues with. Yeah, so I can't give you more information because it's not in front of me right now, but Killigan was another key word that she had issues with. So, with Killigan and the breakup of the Kennedys, Rothberg told Killigan that she was attender Hollywood parties hosted by the inner circle of Hollywood's elite and was working the talk of the town again. Rothberg indicated in so many words that she had secrets to tell, no documents arising from her twist with the President and the Attorney General. The one blank blank mentions that the President and the Attorney General blank blank, the visit of the President in a secret affair space for the purpose of inspection, things from outer space. So this is in the document, as I said. And I didn't read this before I gave you this information. This came up after the fact. Killigan replied, the known that might be the source of the visit. Maybe that was why he's saying that Kennedy went to see her, because of this UFO information. In the mid-50s, Killigan, something of secret effort by the U.S. and the UK governments to identify the crashed spacecraft and dead bodies. There were supposedly several dead alien bodies in this crash, which brought me to that gentleman I just told you about, Forrestal, who was a witness, and he took care of the whole crash. Okay. British government official Killigan believes the story may have come from, it's crossed off, in the late 40s. And I think it looks like Forrester was mentioned. He was the one who witnessed the crash. He took care of it. He was the lead secretary of defense. So that was in the 40s. That was the time that this gentleman, Forrester, that Marilyn gave me his name, had died by accidental death, because once the Secretary of Defense of the U.S. knew about this crash, they shut him up and killed him. Kennedy was killed. Marilyn's killed. I mean, follow the trail, folks. Okay? This is serious. Alright, so British government officials, Killigan believed the story may have come from national intelligence in the late 40s. Killigan said, blank, blank, the story is true. It would embarrass Jack and his plans to have NASA put men on the moon. Subject repeatedly called the Attorney General and complained about the way she was being ignored by the President and his brother. 3. Subject threatened to hold a press conference and would tell all. 4. Subject made reference to bases in Cuba and the President's plan to kill Castro. And 5. Subject made reference to her diary of secrets and what the newspapers would do with such disclosure. Top secret, and as you can see here, it's X'd out at the bottom, top secret. So, I was shocked to find this, as well as Mr. Farsdale's information of who he was and how he suddenly got murdered. There's also 2 other close friends of Marilyn's that suddenly came up, suicidal deaths. They were actresses that were close to Marilyn. I mean, this is just madness, folks, madness. All right, I don't want to cut. It's already been 20 minutes, so go to video 9 and we'll continue on. So that's one of the reasons she was killed. That's what Marilyn gave me. And we'll continue on with the rest of the document of the word she gave me, base 502. And base 501, by the way, on the last video was the Korean base. This base is the base where the UFO crash was sighted. And the connection with that is base 502. And like I said, Mr. James Forrestal, which was the chief state defense work for the USA in the 40s, was suddenly murdered because of knowing about this information, which in turn was reported to J.F. Kennedy, which in turn told Marilyn about it briefly, and et cetera, and they're all dead now. So, yeah. Alright, so go to video 9, and see you then. More with the spirit of Marilyn speaking the truth.